This is Real News Media TV, coverage you can trust. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates. Pearly Beach permit suspended after gridlock. Following an emergency meeting between stakeholders at the St. Anne Municipal Corporation on Sunday, a ban has been placed on permits for events at Pearly Beach, which has been cited as the main cause of Saturday's gridlock in St. Anne. Immediately, we're suspending the permit for events at the Pearly Beach for a little while, Mayor Sidney Stewart told the news after the meeting. The police made that recommendation until we are able to examine again the Pearly Beach venue because the primary disturbances were really at Pearly Beach, according to the police, Stewart said. The meeting involved the Municipal Corporation, the police, the National Works Agency, and the St. Anne Development Company, a subsidiary of the Urban Development Corporation, which owns Pearly Beach. The St. Anne Development Company has been mandated to rethink the process of venue rental and to provide new, tougher conditions for the hosting of events there. The mayor said another meeting will be held in 2 or 3 weeks to determine the next step. Questioned about long-term strategies, Stewart pointed to plans to upgrade the roadway from Ocho Rios to Montego Bay. He also disclosed that new measures would be formulated to govern the activities of event promoters. We're still going to be meeting with the promoters ahead of their events, and they will have to abide by several stipulations, including giving us a site plan how they will operate, he said. Social media was flooded with complaints on Saturday night about persons having to spend several hours caught in traffic jam between Ocho Rios and the St. Anne's Bay as the party at the government-owned property hosted Festival of Floats. But while FOF might have been the main reason for the gridlock, Powell said there were other activities along the corridor. One of the persons caught up in the traffic, Andrew Allen, told the news that it was pure chaos as he tried to make his way off the highway at the Miami Bay roundabout as he journeyed from Kingston to Ocho Rios. He was stuck at the roundabout for about an hour with the easterly and the westerly traffic at a standstill. Allen eventually went back on the highway, exited at Golden Grove, traveled through Colgate and the Fern Gully, only to be confronted by another traffic jam going down Milford Road into Ocho Rios. General indiscipline of motorists was a major contributing factor. It was not just the taxi operators who were at fault. The police just could not cope, he said. A 20-minute drive from Ocho Rios to St. Anne's Bay lasted up to 3.5 hours in some instances. Several workers waited in vain for their assigned vehicle to pick them up and had to seek alternative means of transport. Others were forced to walk for long distances from Ocho Rios to Drax Hall and even farther to St. Anne's Bay, the news learned. On Sunday, the police beefed up traffic enforcement manpower and pledged to monitor vehicular flow on Easter Monday and national holiday. Denham Town explodes, a fatal JDF shooting sparks wrath. Them kill him like one hog them a run down, it never needed. That was the graphic solemn conclusion of an aunt of Horine Glen, the 32-year-old man fatally shot in an alleged confrontation with soldiers in Denham Town Saturday evening. Pointing to the spot in the yard where Glenn was killed at 6:20 p.m., the aunt said that a now deceased had tried to mediate a conflict between her son and a soldier. "And my son dem a beat and him intervene. The soldier do him wrong and him should just admit say him wrong," the aunt, who requested anonymity, said in a news interview on Sunday. "Good God, man, we are people like them. We give them light to charge their phone, so them don't need to come round here and disadvantage us." Protests ignited in Denham Town on Sunday as irate residents set old fridges, tires, and debris ablaze on Charles Street, North Street, and the Spanish Town Road, labeling the death a ruthless attack. One teenage protester at the scene, who identified herself as the cousin of the deceased, said she witnessed a soldier use a gun to hit her brother and his friend near the eyes. "I come cross and I say, 'Soldier, no, a little pitney, you cannot beat them,' she said, adding that a soldier channeled his wrath towards her and struck her with his firearm. In a late evening press statement Sunday, the JDF reported that it had commenced an internal investigation into the civilian death and committed to cooperate with Indicom. Controversial shootings are not an unfamiliar narrative in Denham Town, which has a storied history of gang warfare and a confrontation with the security forces. Chronic violence is the very reason why the West Kingston community was declared a zone of special operations in October 2017, a bid by the state to combine police and army saturation with social development projects. But even then, tensions are regularly inflamed as a deep-seated mistrust remains between civilians and the security forces, and the claims and counterclaims in Saturday's fatal shooting are emblematic of the divide. Glenn's family and neighbors paint a picture of him as an innocent mediator. The soldiers them a beat some little boy, and like him go there and say, "You know, see a little boy," so the soldier and him catch up. My auntie go draw him and carry him to the yard, and the soldier run from where him there and pull the gate and shoot him in the yard in front of him son, a resident said. But according to the Jamaica Constabulary Force, 8 JDF soldiers were on foot patrol along Charles Street when they saw 4 men who aroused their suspicion. When they proceeded to search the individuals, they were allegedly spat on by residents. The team was then approached by Glenn, who allegedly poured the contents of a beer bottle on them. The police said that when the team attempted to accost Glenn, he ran into a yard where a confrontation ensued. During the tussle, Glenn reportedly held onto the soldier's weapon, allegedly to disarm him, and was shot 4 times. He sustained injuries to the abdomen and was subsequently pronounced dead at the Kingston Public Hospital. Videos circulating on social media depict the alleged altercation between residents and the JDF shortly before the incident took place. In one video, Glenn is seen being carried away by residents after he was shoved and kicked. Residents have vowed to continue protest this week. Senior Superintendent Michael Phipps, who heads the Kingston Western Police Division, has called for calm. "I am asking the residents to cooperate with the security forces in the area and not to assault members of the joint forces, as we have had reports of members being assaulted by citizens," the police commander said. In the meantime, we urge them not to block the roadways, and anyone who was witness to the fatal shooting should contact Indicom, who is leading on the investigations. Indicom Commissioner Hugh Faulkner said in a news interview that his staff had recovered spent casings and taken blood samples from the death scene. Several rifles will also be subject to ballistic testing. On Thursday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness moved a motion in the House of Representatives for an extension of ZOZOs for an additional 60 days, citing major reductions in violent crimes in these communities. 79-year-old man killed and his house set ablaze in Westmoreland. A 79-year-old man was shot dead and his house set ablaze by woodlums in Bluefields, Westmoreland on Saturday. A 50-year-old woman who was in the house escaped injury. The deceased has been identified as Sidney Hibbert, a resident of Content in Bluefields. Investigators reported that about 1:30 a.m., Mr. Hibbert and the other occupant were at home when armed thugs kicked off the door to the dwelling. The woman ran from the house, leaving behind the elderly man. Shortly afterwards, explosions were heard coming from the house, which was then seen engulfed in flames. The police and the fire personnel were called to the scene, where the charred remains of the senior citizen were removed from the rubble after the fire was extinguished. Investigators are trying to determine a motive for the attack. Montego Bay Metro in worse shape than JUTC, says Michael Phillips. Opposition spokesman on transport Michael Phillips has charged that the Montego Bay Metro Company is in a worse shape than the Jamaica Urban Transit Company. Phillips made the assertion during his recent contribution to the 2022-2023 sectorial debate in the House of Representatives. The Montego Bay Metro is described as a dedicated school and municipal bus service, and like the JUTC, is a state-run entity. According to Phillips, this company, which should provide transit services to general commuters, students, and the elderly in St. James, Hanover and Trelawney and Westmoreland, is now down to an operating fleet of 6 buses from 17 when We the People's National Party left office. He noted that there was a plan to refurbish 3 units to bring the fleet up to 19 for the 2022-2023 fiscal year, but argued that this was still a drop in the bucket because Montego Bay Metro needs a fleet of 30 buses to be able to provide adequate seats in the western end of the island. How can an aging fleet of 6 or 9 buses serve the students in these 3 parishes, Phillips said. Even with 17 buses, there were challenges. Now, with 6 units and the same indiscipline as in the Kingston Metropolitan Transport Region, what does the government propose to do for these commuters? He asked further. The opposition spokesman said the Ministry of Transport needs to develop a plan to restore the company and its services to meaningful and acceptable levels, as it was now a shadow of itself. He highlighted that the government will be providing a subsidy of $245 million to the Metro during the current financial year, but argued that unless the operation is brought back to the adequacy it once enjoyed, the expenditure, along with the $274 million that was provided in the 2021-2022 financial year, cannot be justified. Unless the ministry ensures urgent improvement, the operations will be only an illusion, as most students will be forced to take more expensive modes of transport, Phillips said. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Select all for daily news updates.